Wonderful fellow loomers. So here in this video today, I'm knitting the armhole. There are, most of my pattern have either angled armhole or square armhole. So this video is about how to knit square or shape square armhole. So when you start knitting your panel and come to the point where you have to start shaping the armhole, the square armhole, you need to understand that different gauge of loom and yarn and the different sizes have different numbers of degrees for shaping armhole. Right now I've casted on 36 pegs. There are 36 stitches. This is the front panel of Lacey cardigan, and I'm knitting the square armhole. This is a square armhole. It is a Lacey front open cardigan, and this armhole is shaped square. You can see that there is a little, this area is bind off, and then there is straight knitting here. So for extra small size cardigan, the front panel only. So this video is I'll demonstrate the square armhole, V neckline, and the front panel, the left front panel of the cardigan. So for the extra small, the front panel is casted on 36 pegs. I've knitted. This is not actually a garment. I'm only showing the armhole shaping. So there are, we have to, when we start shaping the armhole, we'll bind off 6 stitches all in one go. So bind off 1, bind off 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and when you are binding off, keep your tension a little loose, because later on if you want to put it back on the loom for edging or I-cord, it will be it can be put back easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Right, so see, there is this area is bound off, and now we'll knit for 1 more inch before shaping the neckline. 1 more inch is like 6 more rows, and when we reach the last now note one thing is, this is the left panel. Yeah, it is the left panel where it is the right panel. The right panel, this is the shoulder. This is the shoulder and the shoulder armhole edge, and this is the left side is the front open or the neckline edge. We'll start knitting, shaping the neck, the V of the V neck here, and the armhole on the right side. This is going to formulate the right panel of the cardigan. So depending on the pattern that you are knitting, I always suggest that the last couple of stitches here before the turnaround or before the half stitch, I do a purl, which basically helps shape the neck or and the front open, you know, the cardigan, the front side of the cardigan. If there is a one purl here, it lies flat. It won't curl or flip. So the last two stitches or one stitches, depending on what is the number of lace or any pattern that you are filling in between, there need to be one purl before the slip stitch, and this is the half stitch or the slip stitch, and then you'll knit back and forth for 6 rows or 1 inches. The gauge of this yarn and this 7/16 loom, and this is worsted weight number 4 yarn. It gives 1 inch, 4 stitches, and 6 rows gives 1 inch. We will knit back and forth. So on this loom, there were 36 cast on, 36 pegs on which I have casted on. I've decreased 6 stitches from the right side of the loom to create this little curve for the armhole shaping, and I have knitted this much, that is the 6 decreased stitches plus 6 more rows to give this shape. Now as I continue knitting the armhole, I continue knitting this armhole, basically this part of the armhole, I'll shape the V as well by binding off. So for this particular size, which is extra small, shoulder, there are 16 shoulder stitches. So let me count 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 shoulder stitches, and 14, this leaves 14 neck stitches. And I'll start decreasing the stitches from the left side of this front right panel to create a right V of this cardigan, that is this part. So on the left side, I'll start decreasing the stitches for the V neckline. So every time I knit from the armhole edge to the neck edge, I will decrease 1 stitch at the neck edge, and the decrease will happen the same way that I had knitted the armhole, decrease the armhole every time I come here, right? So yeah, 1 decrease, and then let's go back to the, and you will continue purling the last stitch when you are coming back. And from the shoulder edge, I'll only turn it around, that is like a half a stitch, see, and then purl the next one. Continue U-knitting back to the V-neck edge and decrease 1 stitch at the V-neck edge. And when we are creating the V-neck, we'll do the purl when we are coming back. decrease one more stitch, purl the next one, and continue knitting. So is the same way we will keep knitting until all these 14 pegs are knitted and a V is created, leaving 16 stitches for the shoulder. I have knitted halfway through this V-neck. If you see, there is this nice neat V coming up, and the shoulder is shaping well on this side. Right side is the armhole and left side is the V-neck. When we knit the left panel, it will be totally opposite. On the right end we'll be knitting the V, and on left end there will be the shoulder armhole shaping. So here this V-neck is complete, and on this side is the square armhole, square shaped armhole. Since I have knitted one purl stitch after every half a stitch, I don't think I need edging. It's perfectly fine if we still put an edging or an I-cord, it's fine, but sometimes I knit a couple of one or two purl stitches, which helps it fly. So now the important part of shaping the upper part of a knit top is to shape the shoulders. I have now 16 stitches left on the shoulder for extra small cardigan, right front, and shoulders are shaped in a slight slope form, for which we will bind off the shoulder in two parts. If this is my first peg, which is on my right side, I'll bind off 8 and then continue knitting and then bind off the rest of the 8. So on row 1 I'll bind off 8. Let me demonstrate that. So I'll start binding off 8. Let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'll put a stitch marker here so I don't forget. Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 1 more. And I'll start binding off. Bind off 3, bind off 4, and here have bound off all 8, or 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. No, there's one more. And then I'll continue knitting till the end. Unit 1, unit 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and then bind off this side, the other side. Binding all of this, the remaining 8 is going to make a little slope-like structure that fits nicely, hugging the shoulders. And like neck and like armhole, shoulder stitches differs with gauge and with the size of garment we are knitting. If you are knitting any of my pattern, for every pattern I have given charts for each sizes. So here it is done, all bound off. Now see, the V-neck goes here, and this is the armhole. Of course, when I'll block, it will be will look better. And this is the shoulder with a little slope. Here is the shoulder. It's a little high from here and goes down. The front panel, which is the right panel, or yeah, it's actually the left panel, and then the right panel will be exactly opposite of this. You will knit it on the other side. So I hope that you all followed that how we do a square armhole with a V-neck and a shoulder shaping. Happy